Welcome in to the Commanders Report live show here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon / evening, depending on where you're watching us around the world right now. Thank you to everybody for stopping by here. We got some great Commanders content coming your way here over the next about hour and a half or so. We're going to be going over the latest news and rumors surrounding your Washington Commanders. We haven't been able to get to a news and rumors segment since last week, all right? So this is definitely something that's overdue with all the UDFAs and, of course, the draft last week and then free agency targets yesterday. We haven't gotten to a news and rumors segment since the draft, so some pretty good stuff here that we got to discuss today. Also, later in today's show, I'm going to be discussing my post-draft winners and losers lists for the Washington Commanders here. You know, obviously the dynamics have changed in the locker room ever since the Commanders have taken the rookies that they have selected in this year's NFL draft. So which guys won, which guys lost, I'll let you guys know on today's show. And then, of course, every single week we do the live Q&A portion here on the Commanders Report. So if you want to get your voice, your question, your comment on today's live stream, all you got to do is put it down there in the live chat and use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show. Big shout out to producer Coop here, who is a Cowboys fan, by the way. But you know what? We appreciate anybody that's going to be producing this show. So, producer Coop, how you feeling today?
I'm all right. Thursday afternoon, week after the draft, things kind of slowing down around the NFL a little bit. Time to catch our breath a bit before rookie mini camp begins and whatnot. So I'm feeling well, though.
Very good, my friend. So make sure you go down there right now, hashtag Commanders or Super Chat.
Get on the show.
To get on the show. If you got a question about Jayden Daniels, if you got a question about Drake May and why we didn't take him, if you got a question about J.J. McCarthy and why we didn't take him, if you got a question about whatever, you got a question about Johnny Newton, that pick at 36. So, Coop, you haven't been with us since they took Johnny Newton at number 36. What'd you feel about getting Newton at 36, even though you needed an edge rusher, you needed a left tackle, and you already have John Allen and Jer'zhan Payne on the roster?
Yeah, what it tells me is that he was the best player on their board,
Yep.
and that's kind of who they took. And you know what? I never have a problem with going best player available. I subscribe to that theory probably a little bit more than drafting on need, and maybe they thought like there was an edge that wasn't worth even close to drafting at 36. So
yeah, the edges were kind of gone at that point.
So they went with Newton. I don't mind the pick.
Yeah, I don't mind the pick at all. I gave it a B+ because it's like, yeah, he's going to be, you had two really glaring needs and you ignored that to get an interior guy.
He'll be your third guy, right?
But he's going to be your third guy. He's going to be keeping John fresh. He's going to be keeping Jer'zhan fresh throughout the season. And at the end of the day, even though I actually don't like the edge group here in Washington. I love their interior group. So hopefully that interior group of Jonathan Allen, Jer'zhan Payne, and Johnny Newton can really do some damage up the middle and get some pressure on quarterbacks.
I like their edge group prior to week 9 of last year when they had Chase Young and Montez Sweat.
Yeah, what the hell, man? We're promised after they trade those two guys, it's all going to be okay. We're getting draft picks here, and we get stuck with Dorrance Armstrong and Cleveland Ferrell as our starting edge rushers.
Let me tell you what, as a Cowboys fan, Dorrance Armstrong, fine player.
Yeah, number 2 guy, though.
He's number 2, maybe a number 3.
Yeah.
He's not a number 1 guy, and that's going to be a problem. I'm not sure how.
They are expecting the guys in the middle, Allen, Payne,
to.
and Newton, to really carry the load. And I do expect Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator, and Dan Quinn to do a lot of exotic blitzes, because that's what they did there in Dallas, right? They did a lot of different stuff with safeties and corners and linebackers blitzing and creeper blitzes.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to do that because they're not going to be able to get pressure on the edge with this group, in my opinion.
Let me tell you what, Cleveland Ferrell. That brother stinks.
All Cleveland is really good for is early down work as a run defender.
Exactly.
I don't really see him much as a pass rusher. So it's going to be Dante Fowler Jr. on third downs.
I forgot they got Fowler as well.
Hopefully KJ Henry can work his way in there. He was a mid-round pick last year. He showed some flashes kind of towards the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting. Let us know where you're watching from right now. I'll give some shout-outs in the chat. Shout out to Jonathan, who's always here. He says, I got to go. Just came to show my support, Jonathan.
Shout out,
Thank
Jonathan.
you so much for your support, my friend. Jasmine is here. Colson is here. Cassie is coming to us from Goodhue, Minnesota. As you guys know, we live here in Dallas, Texas. My girlfriend and I, Cassie. But she's visiting her family there in Goodhue, so shout out to everybody.
Is that the hometown?
And that is the hometown for Cassie and her family. So shout out to you, babe. I miss you. We got Colson Toombs in here.
Cassie, the elevator works now.
That she was the one that told me that the elevator apparently works right now in my building, so that's great. We got Jasmine in here. We got Piggy, Who else we got in here, man? We got 52 Commanders fans in the chat right now.
Shout out the real ones.
Shout out your city down there in the comment section for a shout out to get today's show started. The Last Silent Viper is here. Chris Gross is here from Minneapolis. Okay.
Okay, the Twin Cities.
Chris Gross, or is that Chris Vaughn? Or is that?
No, it's Gross. You got it right.
Okay, so Chris Gross. I didn't want to call you Gross if that's not how you pronounce it. Jesse Silva from Los Angeles, Scary Terry official, says he'd be happy with 5 to 8 wins.
What was it last year? 4?
I believe it was 4. Yeah. It wasn't good last year, man.
I think if you get to 6, I think you're happy with that.
You know what? I don't even have my expectations for this season attached to a win total.
I would agree with that, actually.
I have, I want to see steps throughout the season made by the collective as a whole and from Jayden Daniels, the franchise quarterback. I was going to say,
I think that's what matters most. As long as Daniels has a good developmental year, I think that's all you care about.
Yeah, and like we said, the offensive line is still, let's just say, unfinished at this point.
That's a nice way of putting it.
And then the defensive line, you got good interior guys, but the edge rushers, you're going to have to get creative to get pressure on quarterbacks here.
We're going to talk about the O-line later, but I know you think that it's a possibility at least that Brandon Coleman could be starting.
Yeah, I mean, I like Cornelius Lucas as a swing tackle, as a backup option, but, if he's your starting left tackle, man, that's definitely not something I'd be looking forward to. So here's our Super Chat menu today, guys. Any Super Chat, you're going to get a shout-out on the show. We really do appreciate everybody that helps us out here. We also got a brand new box of Bean-Boozled jelly beans from Jelly Belly. We hate doing these, but for $10 Super Chats, we'll get it going for you guys. So some of the flavors here. Old Bandage, Stinky Socks, Barf, Dirty Dishwater, Dead Fish, Booger, Rotten Egg, Liver and Onions, and Stink Bug are the flavors here, guys. So if you guys want to see us, kind of suffer a little bit here, $10 Super Chats, and we'll do those jelly beans for you. And then, of course, Coop is a Cowboys fan. So if you're a Cowboys fan and you come on this show, you must suffer the consequences here. $50 Super Chats, and we'll slap the living hell out of producer Coop for the sin of being a Cowboys fan. So that's our Super Chat menu today. And let's get this party started here, man. Latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. We need to get up. We got 46 people watching. We need to get to at least 20 likes here.
20.
All right, so type me down there in the chat right now. Type me in the chat if you haven't already. If you click that thumbs up icon. Let's get up to 20 likes, and then we'll get into our first segment here. Come on now. I see Robert in there. I see Jesse. I see Smitty's Corner. I see Jasmine. I see Cassie. I see Steven. I see Travis. Come on now. We need to click that thumbs up icon. We got to double it right now. We got 10. We got 47 people watching, 10 likes. We need to get that up to 20. We need to get those numbers up here to kick off today's show. We got Travis Green here. We got Jonathan Taylor. We got The Last Silent Viper. We got Scary Terry Official. We got Chris Gross.
Hit that thumbs up icon, baby.
Click that thumbs up icon right now. We're at 18 likes. 2 likes away. So if you want us to get into our content today, click that thumbs up icon. It takes a half second of your time. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And make sure you guys get those Super Chats in, by the way. $10 today is a Bean-Boozled jelly bean. $50, I get to slap the crap out of producer Coop. So let's get this going right now. We just got the 22 likes, 50 people watching around the world. So without further ado, let's get into the first segment right now for the Washington Commanders report. Coop needs a couple seconds here, but our first segment here is going to be the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders, post-draft rumors, all these different things. Then I'll get into my list of post-draft winners and losers after that. And then we'll finish up today's show with a Q&A portion here where you guys can ask your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. A little bit less removed from day one of the NFL draft. So it's been an exciting week here for the Commanders. So let's get into it right now. The latest news and rumors surrounding the Commanders franchise. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and today we got a great slate of Commanders news and rumors to cover right here on YouTube. First up, I'm going to go over a report from Adam Schefter from ESPN, who had some very interesting things about the Commanders' thinking and the two quarterbacks that they were thinking between at the number 2 pick. It's probably not the two quarterbacks that you are thinking of here. Of course, Jayden Daniels is one of them. The other one surprised me a little bit. Then, according to a new report, Christian McCaffrey encouraged Adam Peters, his former assistant GM there in San Francisco, to draft Luke McCaffrey, his brother, early in the 2024 NFL Draft. I'll discuss McCaffrey's profile here and how he fits with the Commanders' offense. And then we'll finish up with some Brandon Coleman talk here. Where is he going to play? Is he going to play guard? Is he going to play tackle? I'll go over Adam Peters' comments on him, and I'll tell you where he's going to be playing on the offensive line, or at least hopefully heading into the 2024 season. So let's get things going right now on the Commanders Report. If you are ready for a new era of Commanders football, Dan Quinn, the head coach, Adam Peters, the GM, Jayden Daniels as the quarterback. All three are brand new for this football team, so if you're excited about it, you can't wait to get football going again here in Washington, type raise hail down there in the comments section. That is the new catchphrase for our Washington Commanders here. So let's get into the top story today, which is a report from Adam Schefter earlier this week, where he said that Drake May out of North Carolina wasn't even in the final consideration for the number 2 pick for the Washington Commanders. Now, of course, they went to his pro day, they brought him in for a top 30 visit, all these different things, but apparently the choice came down to Jayden Daniels and Michigan's J.J. McCarthy. Here's what Adam Schefter had to say on the Pat McAfee Show earlier this week. The two quarterbacks they, as in the Commanders, had in consideration at number 2 were Jayden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy. May wasn't even going number 2. He was going number 3 to New England all along. So listen, guys, this actually lines up pretty well with my evaluation of Drake May. And you guys will remember that I did a video on the channel back on April 9th, actually, where I was saying that Drake May is not a good fit here in Washington, all right? He needs a coach that's going to clean up his footwork and his throwing mechanics, and hopefully the accuracy, which was really bad there this past season with the Carolina Tar Heels there, was going to get better. And I didn't think Cliff Kingsbury was the right guy to get it done, okay? So I think that his lack of refinement mixed with the fact that the Commanders needed somebody to play right away, I think May needs to sit behind a veteran for a little bit. I'm a believer in May. I think he could be a star quarterback in the league, but I think he needs to go more like the Josh Allen, the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jackson route, where it's going to take a little bit here for him to really get to that star type of status, and I'm just not sure Cliff Kingsbury was going to be the right guy to get him to that point. And I can say right now as well, guys, if the other quarterback was J.J. McCarthy at number 2, thank God the choice was Jayden Daniels. McCarthy, I think in the right situation can work out. I think he went to the right spot for him with the Minnesota Vikings. But if you're looking at the film between Jayden Daniels and what he was able to do last year and J.J. McCarthy there at Michigan, I think that the choice was pretty clear there. At least in my opinion, Jayden Daniels was the right call for Adam Peters and the Washington Commanders moving forward. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Did Washington make the right call at the quarterback position? Or would you rather have gone with Drake May or J.J. McCarthy or trade down for Michael Penix or whatever the case may be? Type yes or no down there in the comments section. Was Jayden Daniels the right pick for the Commanders? This will be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube will throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but give me a yes or a no down there in the comments. So now, did Adam Peters get peer pressured into taking Luke McCaffrey at number 100 overall? Well, he said in a recent interview, Peters did anyway, that Christian McCaffrey, of course, superstar running back that's currently with the San Francisco 49ers. Peters is coming to us as the former assistant GM of the Niners. Apparently, Christian encouraged Peters to take his brother Luke early in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, this is what Peters had to say in a recent interview. I did get a little insight from his brother Christian. He's talking about there. I got a little encouragement from his brother. I didn't need it. I can tell you that right now. And now he's talking about Luke, really taught himself how to be one of the best receivers in the country in the last 2 years. He's got size, he's got speed, he's got great movement skills, and I think he's only going to ascend. Now, I certainly hope that Luke McCaffrey ascends from where he was in college, but I disagree with the fact that he was one of the best receivers in college football the past 2 years, and that designation, and I wish I was as optimistic about McCaffrey and his game than Peters is at this point. Obviously, he believes in him, so I'm rooting for the kid. I really am, and he does provide some much-needed size to the room here with the Washington Commanders. He's 6'2", and he's ripped and all these different things, and he ran a good 40 time at 4.46. He had a decent shuttle and 3-cone time as well. So listen, man, the testing numbers were pretty good. But based on my film analysis here of McCaffrey, he plays slow. He doesn't get out of his breaks very fast. He doesn't stop very quickly, which is something that's a little bit concerning as well. Now, obviously, he has the size you look for, and the Commanders were definitely looking for. He plays with good hands. I will give him that. He's tough over the middle of the field, and, he can play through contact and all these different things. And as a run blocker, he plays with good play strength. But overall, he's not the best and most refined run blocker, even at his size. The route running is definitely sloppy at this point, and you can tell that he just transitioned to this wide receiver position. He's a former quarterback, and some people think because he gets jammed outside so often against man coverage, he's probably going to be a slot only. So it's like, I would have rather gone with a guy like a Malik Washington or even a Troy Franklin at this point who is still available, right? Luke McCaffrey, was not the best receiver on the board at number 100. In my opinion, I think there were better options out there. And, it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if Christian McCaffrey did kind of, influence Adam Peters in that kind of direction to take McCaffrey with the number 100 overall pick. Now, on the bright side here, I don't want to completely crap on the young man here because I am honestly rooting for him. I do want him to do well. And he's clearly a hard worker. He comes from a family that obviously has a great pedigree and all these different things, and he does have an interesting physical profile. Now, if he can play at the speed that he was able to play at, at the combine and all those great testing numbers, then yeah, sure, let's do it, man. Big slot wide receiver, that would fit in well here in Washington. But with all the great options still available on the board for Adam Peters at that point, McCaffrey probably wasn't the pick that I would have made. Now let's shift from McCaffrey to somebody that they took earlier in the third round, which is Brandon Coleman. And coming up, I'm going to be telling you where I think he's going to be playing on the Commanders' offensive line heading into the 2024 season. But before we get into that, go ahead and get your very own Commanders ball cap from our friends at Fanatics. If you want to be rocking the Dan Quinn look, we all know his signature backwards hat look. If you want to be rocking that on Commanders game days this year, watching Jayden Daniels sling the rock, run the football, all these different things, it's going to be absolutely electric, by the way. Definitely going to be wearing my backwards Washington Commanders cap on Washington Commanders live watch parties this year. Those are going to be absolutely fun here. So make sure, go chatsports.com/DQ for a great price on this Commanders ball cap. And they also have a great selection of other Commanders ball caps there on the Fanatics website. So go to chatsports.com/DQ if you want to rock the Dan Quinn backwards hat look here in 2024. So now let's get into Brandon Coleman and where I expect him to play for the Washington Commanders here in 2024. And listen, it's not about me. It's about where Adam Peters and Dan Quinn see him as. And this is what Adam Peters had to say after taking him in round 3. Brandon Coleman's another team captain, and he really impressed us. We had him in here on a 30 visit. Really loved his story, and he's got over 1,600 snaps at tackle. He also played guard. We see him as a tackle, and we think he could be a really good tackle. He's really experienced. He's got heavy hands. He's a really good athlete. So we were really fortunate to get him where we got him. So listen, man, I think Brandon Coleman is very intriguing, but if you're going to be trusting him to start week 1 of his NFL career, that's dangerous, in my opinion, because last year, just based on his film alone, if you would have just taken his film from 2023, it's terrible, man. And, he was playing with an injury, so, keep that in mind. And his film in 2022 was a lot better. But if he plays in the National Football League like he did last year at TCU, oh boy, Jayden Daniels is going to be running for his life. His balance is all over the place. His hand placement's all over the place. It just wasn't good. Didn't play with good technique. Now you look here in terms of his relative athletic score as a guard, it's almost a perfect 10 out of 10. I mean, you look at the 40-yard dash time, the agility times, all these different things that he did at the combine. It's been really impressive to see what he's been able to do. His arm length is really good as well at over 34.5 inches. So that's definitely what you look for a future left tackle. He's got the movement ability. He's got the athleticism, got the arm length. This guy could be a franchise left tackle, but he could also be a complete dud, and he could be a dud right from the start and put Jayden Daniels, this franchise's new number 1 quarterback, in jeopardy. And that scares the living crap out of me, man. So listen, if he starts at left tackle, you're definitely hoping that he develops, especially over this next 2 to 3 year stretch. But, Jayden might be running for his life, and, that's his blind side. So we know how skinny Jayden is and all these different things. And, yes, he can get away, and, he can get outside the pocket and run, and we know that Jayden can do that. But if he doesn't have a left tackle that's capable of blocking Micah Parsons and all these different extremely awesome edge rushers in this division, it's going to be tough, all right? So I definitely think that the offensive line as a whole just scares the living daylights out of me, just like it did last year. I mean, Brandon Coleman, you're hoping that he's going to be pretty solid. Andrew Wiley was one of the worst right tackles in football last year, but you're paying him too much money to put on the bench. Nick Allegretti was a backup for most of last season before he eventually came in and helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. So I love Allegretti, don't get me wrong. I love his mentality. I love his toughness. All that different stuff, but is he like a true starting guard in the league? I don't think we know that just yet. Tyler Biadasz, it's not like he's a top center. He's fine. And then Sam Cosmi is really the one like rock on this offensive line that I feel really confident about. And it just feels like last season when we were going into the year where Sam Cosmi was the only guy I felt really confident about. And I tried warning everybody, man, this offensive line is going to stink and Sam Howell's going to be running for his life, and that's really going to affect how the Commanders can win football games. And then that's exactly what happened. So this is a similar feeling for me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that multiple people on this offensive line really take a step forward, including Brandon Coleman here. But let me know down there in the comment section, how are you feeling about this offensive line for the Washington Commanders here? What grade would you give the Commanders starting offensive line right now? Give me a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. I think according to NFL standards right now, I think I can't give it anything better than a C-. Your two tackles are definitely not established. The guards are definitely, looking like Sam Cosmi's the only one that you can trust. Tyler Biadasz is fine, but he's far from like a true rock in the center of your offensive line. So for me personally, guys, I'll probably give it a D compared to other NFL teams out there. But let me know how you're feeling about this offensive line. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. We're going to be giving you guys more in-depth Commanders coverage 100% free throughout the week and throughout the weekend. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. All right, one segment out of the way here, Coop. Was I being too harsh on the Commanders there in their offensive line?
No, the offensive line was a disaster last year, and I'm not sure they vastly improved at all. I mean, you're hoping that Brandon Coleman, who, let's face it, was bad last year.
It was awful.
Is going to take a big step into the NFL and compete right away. I don't know, man.
I mean, let's be honest here. Before I looked at his 2022 film, which was a lot better.
It was because he
was healthy.
He was healthy. He was injured a lot last year.
In 2023, he was awful. And then at the Senior Bowl, when he was supposedly healthy and ready to go, he was awful again.
Exactly.
And that's against some of the best edge rushers in the class, and those guys aren't even going to compare to Micah Parsons and all these different guys that he's going to have to face in this division. Brian Burns and the Kayvon Thibodeaux and all these guys that, the Giants and the Eagles and the Cowboys have twice a year. It's like Coleman's going to have to take a big step forward. I think that Peters wanted to trade up for like Jordan Morgan or Patrick Paul even, and it just did. Actually, Patrick Paul went later in the second round. I actually thought that they would take Patrick Paul at 36 instead of Johnny Newton,
But even if you took Patrick Paul, yes, he's a little better than Coleman, but it's kind of the same thing where he's not ready to play.
Yeah, but he's way better as a pass protector right now.
Yeah.
Like, his thing is run blocking. And, like, in this system, with an air raid system,
you're going to pass a lot.
You're going to pass a lot more than you're going to run the football, or at least we assume. So I would have liked Patrick Paul at 36 or 40. I didn't love that they traded down with the Eagles and just handed them Cooper DeJean. It's like, here you go. Here's an incredible playmaker for your defense, Philly. We'll just go down and we'll take a slot corner, and then we'll take who else? And then we'll take a tight end.
Yeah.
Two low-value positions. And listen, I like Sainristil and I like Sennett.
I do too.
But you're giving Cooper DeJean to the Eagles, who already got Quinion Mitchell. Like, that is a terrible move by Adam Peters. I don't know what the hell he was thinking with that. I mean, sure, maybe trade down with a team that's looking to move up, but first, not the Eagles, who already have a really good roster, and two, don't do it with Cooper DeJean, an incredible defensive player, great football player, and a perfect fit for that Philadelphia Eagles system. You don't hand a player like that to one of your rivals.
Never.
Period. And then if you do, go out and get a freaking tackle in the second round with one of those picks that you trade down for. Don't get a slot corner, even though I love Sainristil. I think he's going to be a great player. I mean, you're getting two low-value positions to those two picks. It makes no sense what they did there, in my opinion.
I'm not sure what I think of the Commanders draft. I love the Jayden Daniels pick, obviously. I think outside of that, though, not a lot of it just made a whole lot of sense.
I mean, they've got some nice players. Johnny Newton's an awesome player.
But they weren't needs.
Yeah, exactly. They did have needs.
And like I said earlier, sometimes I'm okay with going best player available.
And by the way, if Coleman ends up being a really good left tackle, I mean, I'll be the first one to be like, guys, like, I like this draft a lot more. But like, you had to get a left tackle in this draft, and you're getting a guy that's a big gamble in Brandon Coleman at that spot.
Would you still go look in free agency and see if you can find a tackle?
I mean, yes. Donovan Smith has experience at left tackle. So does David Bakhtiari, who can't stay healthy. But at that point, you're still going with Brandon Coleman, so why not?
Yeah.
You know, it just gives me a bad feeling, because if Coleman stinks, you probably throw Cornelius Lucas out there, who's fine, but good Lord, man, I just have a bad feeling about this offensive line heading into next year.
In an ideal world, Cornelius Lucas isn't starting for you.
Yeah, he's your swing tackle, right? So, because you got all these great edge rushers in this division. Anyway, here's our Super Chat menu today. If you think I'm stupid and you think that the offensive line here in Washington is great, and you liked every single pick that they made and every single move, and you like giving Cooper DeJean to the Eagles, send a $10 Super Chat our way. I will eat a nasty jelly bean for you guys, all right? So, again, some of the flavors: Old Bandage, Stinky Socks, Barf, a Dead Fish, Booger, Stink Bug, and Liver and Onions, right? There's so many bad flavors. If you think I'm an idiot, you want me to eat up here, $10 Super Chat. And if you want me to slap a Cowboys fan, $50 Super Chat. We'll get the tortillas out, and we'll do some slap.
Come on, Piggy.
All right, man. Come on, Piggy. You won't.
Come on now, Chip.
Come on now, Chip. All right, now let's get into our next segment here. My post-draft winners and losers for the Washington Commanders here. Some pretty interesting names on this list. I can't wait to break it down with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. The 2024 NFL Draft has come and gone. So let's talk about post-draft winners and losers for the Washington Commanders here on this roster. Because obviously with the players that they selected, the dynamics in this locker room have completely changed. And today we're going to be talking about those changing dynamics and which guys are benefiting from that and which guys are not benefiting from this new rookie class coming in here. So first of all, guys, first things first, let's beat the Cowboys. All right, we do this every single week. We do a like battle on 2 of our videos. The Cowboys Reports video today, or this week, had 1,260 likes. That is a lot, all right? So that's going to be tough to beat.
America's team.
Shut up, Coop, okay? Cowboys fan Coop over here talking smack. But we can beat them, folks. Click that thumbs up icon right at the top of today's show. It takes a half second of your time, and we can shut Coop up.
The Cowboys stink. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1996, yet the Commanders have somehow managed to not win one since before that.
Well, Coop, we're going to beat you today, and then you'll see over the next 2 decades that Jayden Daniels will be your daddy, okay? So make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. And without further ado, let's get into the winners here. Because, I like to start, I'm a positive guy. Let's start with the positives here. And we're going to start with somebody that you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of, but I think definitely benefited from the moves that the Commanders ended up making this past week, and that's Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator. I feel like sometimes he definitely gets stale. He doesn't make adjustments mid-season very much. To be fair to him, those adjustments have come, and lack of adjustments have come when he's a head coach, and he's got more than just the offensive game plan to worry about. So hopefully now that he's just an OC, for the first time in a long time, things start to look better for Cliff in terms of his creativity, in terms of adjustments made not only mid-game but also mid-season. And listen, I think that Jayden Daniels is the perfect fit for him because Cliff isn't really good, and it's not really his bag to develop quarterback footwork, their mental processing, all these different things. Under 3 years of his tutelage, Patrick Mahomes looked like one of the most raw quarterback prospects to ever come into the National Football League. People were convinced the best quarterback of our generation was going to be a bust. People forget about that. Who was he under for 3 years? Cliff Kingsbury, and with that type of talent, Kingsbury had a losing record with that kind of QB. All right, so he needs somebody that's relatively polished. That's Jayden Daniels. He can bail him out of bad play calls with his legs, and he's got really good throwing mechanics, really clean throwing mechanics, and good pocket footwork. Decent mental processor as well heading into the league. So I think Jayden and Cliff are a good match. Plus, you get more offensive players, Luke McCaffrey, Ben Sinnott, Brandon Coleman. Hopefully, a number of those guys hit for you guys. I know, you still got Terry McLaurin, who was so a big winner for the Washington Commanders last week, where McLaurin, for all of his NFL life, he has not had a legit number one franchise quarterback throwing him the football. Now, hopefully, he does in Jayden Daniels, okay? Like, if it's not going to be Daniels, like, I just feel so bad for this guy because over the last several seasons, he's had guys like Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, Sam Howell. And listen, Jacoby Brissett was throwing him the football last year, and he was amazing throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin last year, okay? So I think with a guy like Jayden Daniels who throws a beautiful slot fade, a great deep ball, somebody like McLaurin who I think is a top 10 talent at the wide receiver position today. He's had over 1,000 yards the last 4 seasons with the quarterback play that we talked about earlier. I mean, I think that Terry McLaurin is about to explode into a potential superstar here at the Washington Commanders. I think this is a good offensive scheme fit for him here at this air raid style of offense where they're going to be throwing the ball down the field, some screen stuff as well. McLaurin is a very well-rounded receiver, and I'm super excited to see how Cliff Kingsbury is going to use him and how Jayden Daniels gets him the football. So give me an over-under right now. Will Terry be over or under 9.5 touchdowns in 2024? Do you think he gets the double digits? Type O for over or type U for under for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time to let me know over or under. Another winner here is Clelin Ferrell because he's apparently going to be a starting edge rusher for the Washington Commanders in 2024. I mean, when you got rid of Montez Sweat and Chase Young last year, you were kind of hoping that your starting edge duo heading into the next season would be something a little bit better than Dorrance Armstrong and Clelin Ferrell. But they just didn't address this need in the draft. It was one of my biggest gripes with this draft, if I'm being honest with you. You did get Johnny Newton to add to Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. This is an awesome interior pass rush, okay? Plain and simply, it's awesome. Might be one of the best, if not the best in football. But you're not going to be able to generate much off the edge, and I think Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are going to have to get quite inventive in terms of how they're going to be able to create pressure. But hey, from Clelin Ferrell's perspective, he's going to be a starter this year when, honestly, he probably shouldn't be. So at the end of the day, he is a winner. Unless the Commanders go out and make another signing here and go out and get another edge rusher. Because there are some interesting options out there. Carl Lawson, he can't seem to stay healthy, but when he's on the field, athletic freak. He's been a number one guy for an NFL team before. And then Yannick Ngakoue, he kind of had a dip in production last year with the Bears, but he dealt with injuries. And before that, he's a double-digit sack machine like every single year. So if you're looking for pass rush, these are two guys that I think you can consider. I go over my entire list of post-draft NFL free agency targets for your Washington Commanders in a video we put out earlier this week. So make sure you go check that out right now. I'm going to put the link in the comments and description of today's show. So coming up here, when we come back from the break here, post-draft losers for the Washington Commanders. It's a longer list because, honestly, guys, if you're bringing in rookies, I mean, there's going to be guys losing certain positioning, in the locker room here. So we'll get into this here in just a second. But first, we talked about Scary Terry McLaurin and why I think he's about to have the best year of his NFL career to this point. If you believe in him, and if you are right there with me, and you think Scary Terry's going to be awesome this year, our friends at Fanatics have an awesome and stylish Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt available for you guys on their website right now. You can go chatsports.com/scary. It's white, so you can wear it during the summer months. It's not going to get too hot, all these different things. If you're a Commanders fan, you love Scary Terry McLaurin, you want a nice shirt to wear during the summer or training camp coming up here towards the end of the summer, go to chatsports.com/scary to get your t-shirt today. So some losers here. Jamin Davis has been a big loser throughout the entire offseason, honestly. He's had legal issues, and the Washington Commanders are bringing in people to replace his spots in the inside linebacker room. I mean, last year he was the number one linebacker on this team, and now he's at best the third linebacker in this rotation. And it really does seem like Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. and Adam Peters, they're starting to phase him out. And it's looking like, he's going to be a free agent next year, and I think that they're probably going to let him walk. They do have Bobby Wagner. They have Frankie Louvu. They drafted Jordan McGee out of Temple, who they really like. So it just seems like Jamin is on his way out, and I just think his days are numbered here in a Commander's uniform. Then Derek Forrest here. And listen, I'm a huge Derek Forrest fan, but he is an unrestricted free agent next offseason. You have Quan Martin in the room already. Who did not play well as a slot corner last year. So the fact that they took Mike Sainristil, a slot corner in round 2, tells me that they're going to move Quan back to safety, and he's going to be the free safety of the future for this team. I think Derek probably starts over Martin next year because I just think he's a better player. But I think long-term, Jartavius, Quan Martin, whatever you guys want to call him, it looks like he's going to be the option at free safety. Because with Forrest about to hit the free agency market here, I think he's going to have a good season. And I just don't know if Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are going to want to pony up the dough with a rebuilding franchise to a position like free safety when you already have a guy in Quan Martin who I think is more than capable of playing the position. Also, Percy Butler, pretty good at free safety as well. So as much as I hate to say it, I love Derek Forrest. He's a playmaker. I think he's going to have a good year this year. It looks like this might be his last year in a Commander's uniform. Now, if you can keep only one, let me know down there in the comments section. DF for Derek Forrest or QM for Quan Martin. Let me know how you're feeling down there in the comments section when you get a sec. Another loser, Fedarian Mathis. This one's pretty obvious because of the Johnny Newton pick. Fedarian might work his way on from time to time as a run blocker. That's pretty much all he's good for, man. He's not much of a pass rusher, if I'm being honest with you. But it looks like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne are going to be taking the early snap downs, and then Johnny Newton's going to come in on the pass-heavy down. So I just think that Fedarian's role is pretty dramatically reduced here with this draft pick at number 36. And I just think that his role is going to be reduced quite a bit. Let me go Jeremy Chinn. And plain and simply, I just don't know what the future holds for Jeremy. They did get Dominique Hampton, who they believe in the later rounds, very physical type safety. They got a bunch of safeties on the UDFA class this year that are pretty promising. And with the fact that Jeremy's only on a one-year contract, that tells me that the Commanders see him as more of a one-year rental. And they're hoping that one of these younger, athletic-type prospects coming in and joining the fold are going to be able to ascend to a point where they feel comfortable starting someone else other than Jeremy Chinn in 2025 when that day eventually comes. Then another loser, pretty obvious here, Cornelius Lucas with the Brandon Coleman pick. And then that night, Adam Peters says, we think he's a tackle. I mean, Lucas might win the starting job out of the gate, and honestly, he might if Coleman stinks. But Coleman's coming for his job, man. And Lucas, as somebody that probably went to the draft hoping that they wouldn't take a tackle or they'd take a guard and they would, give him a chance to be the left tackle of this football team. And then they take Coleman, and then that night they say, yeah, we're going to go with that guy. It's definitely probably not a good feeling for Cornelius. But here, Coleman, man, last year, what I'm going to say about him, he did not look good on film last year. My initial grade on him was a late day 3 grade because plain simply his feet were everywhere, his hand placement was everywhere. Now he was dealing with injuries in 2023, and then on that national championship game surge that the Horned Frogs had in 2022, 79.6 grade. So he was a lot better in 2022. The film was a lot better at that point as well. But I will say, not the best Senior Bowl week. He lost a lot in the one-on-ones. And listen, I understand that Coleman has an incredible physical profile, specifically from the perspective of a guard, but over 34.5-inch arms. I mean, that's really good arm length. He's got great athleticism, as you guys can see on this relative athletic score chart. And he's intriguing to me. And if he hits, I mean, this is going to be a legit piece to this offensive line that, this team is desperate for at this point. But if he stinks, and there's at least a good chance that he does in his first season in the league, and he plays, this is going to be dangerous, not only for the Commanders as a team, but for Jayden Daniels because he's going to be blocking his blind side. So let me know down there in the comment section, who would you rather see at left tackle for the Washington Commanders? Would you rather go Cornelius Lucas, who I see more of like a backup swing tackle option type CL? Would you rather go with the higher upside option in Brandon Coleman, the rookie out of TCU, the 3rd-round pick, type BC, if you'd rather go with Coleman? All right, that'll be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, hail to the Commanders. All right, Coop. 2 down, 1 to go. Make sure you get your questions in if you haven't already. Hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on this week's mailbag.
Yes, sir. Get them in right now.
Get them in. Get them in. By the way, $10 Super Chats. We'll do Bean-Boozled jelly beans for you guys. And $50 Super Chats, I'm slapping Coop in the face with a tortilla. So if you want to bring in those Super Chats, we can liven things up here. But we're just get your questions in if you haven't already. Hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get your question on today's Q&A. How many questions do we
Still
have?
need a few more.
Still need a few more questions, says producer Coop. So if you have a question, you want me to answer it, now is the right time to use hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get on the show.
The Brandon Coleman thing, you've kind of outlined it. The more you talk about it, the more that it concerns me that this offensive line might stink again.
Yeah, man. I mean, Allegretti, I'm hopeful for. He played pretty decently down the stretch for the Chiefs. So I guess we'll see how he is. Biotish is fine, but he's not great. And then Cosme is the only guy that I would be like, yeah, he could make a Pro Bowl team.
Nate Rosario, use that exact same question, but use hashtag Commanders, not with the space.
Get them going right now, hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get your questions on today's Q&A. Still need a couple more questions if you want to know more about the decision at number 2. If you want to know more about Terry McLaurin or the Johnny Newton pick or the Luke McCaffrey pick or trading down with Cooper or trading down with Philly so they can take Cooper to Gene. I mean, goodness gracious, man. Every time that I think about that, it just pisses me off. Allowing the Eagles to get, like...
It's a joke.
I mean, out of the top corners in this draft, like, who are the guys you talked about? There's like 5 guys that most considered as the top guys. The Eagles got 2 of them because of us.
Oh!
IQ Barbecue with a $50 super chat.
Let's go.
Let's go, IQ. All right, we don't have the tortillas in here, but they are in the kitchen. So
okay.
We'll do it at the end?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end of the show. Yeah.
So IQ, stick around. We'll get your slap in at the end of today's show.
Shout out to IQ.
Shout out to IQ for the $50 super chat, man. You know what? Since we're not doing the slap right now, I'll actually do one of these jelly beans here. All right, I'm not going to look.
Don't look.
All right.
What do you got?
Oh, no.
What do you got?
Well, it's either barf or dead fish.
Oh, God.
I don't know which one it is. I'm trying to look at it.
It's usually hard to tell which one's which when it's barf or dead fish.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I'm pretty sure it's barf, though. So this is not going to be good, folks. But I'll do it for you guys.
Damn.
Cheers to IQ Barbecue with that $50 super chat.
Shout out to IQ.
Oh.
Yikes. Which one was it?
What do you think?
What was it? Was it dead fish or was it barf?
It's barf. It's barf.
Good God.
Oh, you know the rules. You got to finish it, folks.
Pause.
All right. It's gone. All right. Proof.
Need to wash it down?
Yep, I need to wash it down. Pause. Oh, God, dude.
Good Lord.
And you know, Coop, I came into the show not feeling the hottest, right?
Oh, James Yoder's in the chat and asked a question.
Oh, we got a question coming
Shout
up
out,
here.
boss man.
Shout out to the boss here. Okay, do we have enough questions?
Yeah,
here?
we're good to go.
All right, let's get to this final segment right now. Commander Support Live Mailbag coming at you.
Are you, you're all washed down there?
I'm all washed down,
all
man.
Right.
Rockman says, chew it, bro. I was chewing it, and we got it down.
Got it down.
And then we washed it down. You got to love it. Okay. One last drink. Let's get into it right now. By the way, we got another one coming in from Lonnie Broom. It's your turn, Coop.
My turn? Oh, Jesus.
All right, let me pick in one for you.
Shout out, Lonnie.
Let's go. Let's go. It's liver and onions.
The worst one?
No, it's not. Liver and onions isn't the worst one.
I don't know.
Old Bandage is the worst
Old
one.
Bandage might be bad. Oh, God.
All right, down the hatch. No garbage. You got to finish it.
Oh, I'll finish.
No matter what.
I always finish.
Jesus, Coop. Get going. Oh,
So
yeah.
bad.
It was immediate. It was immediate.
I haven't even chewed it all the way. It's so bad.
Right on the first bite. It just... It's so much funnier when it's not happening to you.
Dude, that shit is ass.
Oh, my God. Wash it down.
Oh, God, I almost washed it down.
Shout out to Lonnie for
Shout
the
out,
$10
Lonnie.
super chat. Every 10 that comes in, we're doing a bean, all right? So just keep them coming.
God, that's awful.
Ugh. Okay, man, let's get into this mailbag. We got more than enough questions. I can't wait to answer them here. Let's get into this Commanders Report live mailbag coming at you right now. Today on the Commanders Report mailbag, I'm answering your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. Can't wait to do it with you guys here. Pause. And let's get into the questions before I say something else. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now. If you haven't already, to join the most interactive Commanders fan community right here on YouTube. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. We try to give you guys a platform here to have your voices heard on these weekly mailbags. And all you got to do is join us for our Commanders Report live shows on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So without further ado, I'll pause and open it up for questions, starting with the CEO of Chat Sports here, James Yoder, coming in with predict Jayden Daniels' passing and rushing stats this season. It's tough, man, because, here's the thing. The offensive line is going to be I think it's going to be bad, personally. I don't really feel like you have a lot of good options in there, and when you have a young quarterback under pressure a lot, things might look bad. But really, when it comes to Jayden, I mean, can we get up to 20 touchdown passes? I mean, I like him. I like him as a player. I think that he's relatively polished. He's going to have Terry McLaurin, who's awesome with those slot fades. I'll go 20 touchdowns. Yards, I have no idea. Interceptions, I think he'll probably throw some interceptions. 13 interceptions? Is that a fair number right there? It's going to be interesting to see how Jayden Daniels does, especially if this offensive line stinks. That's probably my best projection right there, Mr. James Yoder. Then we got Jayden Fan Club here. Says, I heard Marshawn Lattimore may be available via trade. Is that something you think Washington could consider? No. I want them to get Stephon Gilmore, man. I think that he'd be a perfect fit. I think he'd be a perfect mentor for Emmanuel Forbes because he played in this defense, right? He played in this defense with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., who was the secondary coach. He knows this system backwards and forwards. Now, does he want to play for a team that's rebuilding? Probably not. But if you could get Gilmore, that'd be awesome. When it comes to Lattimore, they're going to want a high draft pick for him. This is a rebuilding team. You have to give him a new contract. I just don't see that being a potential fit. I've been wrong before, though. Let me know. What say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Would you trade a mid-round pick for Marshawn Lattimore? By mid-round, I'm talking third to fourth round, okay? So give me a yes or give me a no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time and give me a yes or no down there in the comments. Excuse me. Got one from IQ Barbecue. Says, I can't imagine Adam Peters not signing additional offensive line and defensive end help in the next wave of free agency. We have $43 million in cap space, and he has to know those positions we essentially ignored in the draft. I mean, you'd hope so, IQ. You'd hope so. But then again, this is the same guy that traded down with the Philadelphia Eagles and handed them Cooper DeJean, right? So, I mean, I hope Adam sees these things and there are still good tackle options, or decent tackle options, I should say. And there's still some pretty decent edge options. 1-year contract, what do you have to lose if you're the Washington Commanders, right? You got to protect your quarterback and you have to attack opposing quarterbacks. And right now, the guys that you have just aren't going to cut it at the National Football League level. So, 1-year contract, take a gamble on some of these 1-year flyer guys. They're going to be free agents again in 2025. It's no skin off your butt here, man. So why not? Go out and make some more moves, Adam Peters, please. Then we got one from Blake Aarons, and he says, Commanders, what is the biggest key for Jayden Daniels this year? Biggest key for him, it's interesting here, Coop, because, there's a lot of keys to a rookie's success, right? There's supporting cast, there's the way that they develop their mental processing, there's accuracy, there's adjusting to the speed of the game. I think that the biggest key, okay, out of all the things, and this isn't the only factor, okay, so don't come at me saying that this is the only thing he needs to work on. He needs to protect his body better. And he needs to get bigger. Those are the two things that I want to see Jayden Daniels do. I want to see him get bigger, and in terms of his body, he needs to fill out that frame, that 6'3 plus frame, and he needs to protect his body better when he's rushing the football. Because last year in the SEC, he was looking like Roadrunner some of these times, man, getting hit and flying all over the place and fumbling the football in some of these big hits that he took. He needs to learn to slide. He needs to learn to give up his body. He needs to learn how to take 8 yards and a first down instead of trying to get a touchdown on every single play. Of course, you got all these other things. You got to build chemistry, all these different things. You got to get rid of the football quickly. But those are really the two big ones for me heading into year one. So before we get to the rest of the questions here on the Commanders Report Live mailbag, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the Prize Picks app today and use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100 today. And Prize Picks has specials, guys, for new and returning users alike for the start of the MLB season. When you head on over to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the Prize Picks app today. Football season's been over for a while. NFL draft season is now over, but the action on the diamond is just heating up. Get in on the excitement with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your baseball knowledge into serious cash. That is, if you really know ball. The 2024 MLB season is now off and running, and you can pick more or less right now to make some money from the comfort of your couch while you watch your favorite team play every single night. Prize Picks is super simple to play. All you have to do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then watch the winnings roll in. Get started now if you haven't already at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get a first-time deposit match up to $100 when you use our code CLNS. A big shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report, and you can pick more or you can pick less. It's that easy with our friends at Prize Picks. Got one from Ghost of DC DS here. It says, are the new Commanders owners better than me? Yes, if this is the ghost of Dan Snyder, 100%. We're glad you're out of the league, man. We're glad that you have nothing to do with this franchise anymore. Hopefully next, a new team name and new branding so we get rid of the lasting legacy of Dan Snyder for this franchise. Who's with me on that? Okay, now let's go to Twin23. It says, I know you're not the biggest fan of Cliff Kingsbury. How do you feel about this offense now that we know Daniels will be the one running it? I feel a lot better, Twin, okay? I think that Jayden Daniels is relatively polished. Footwork's really good. Clean throwing mechanics. Gets to his third and fourth read in his progression relatively consistently. And I think that that's a lot of good stuff to work with. Then when you add the rushing ability, that just adds a whole nother level of electricity and dynamicism? Is that a word? Dynamism to his game. Thank you so much, Producer Coop. But anyway, man, Cliff Kingsbury needed a guy like that because I just don't think he's very good at developing quarterback talent. Kyler has always been talented, and that's the guy that people usually point to. If it's not him, it's Patrick Mahomes, and he was super raw coming out of Texas Tech. Right? He had 3 years to mold him, and he didn't really do anything with him. So I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is particularly good at developing quarterbacks, but I think, in the right system here, and I do think Jayden Daniels fits in this system quite nicely, I think it can be successful. Kyler Murray was an MVP candidate within this system. He's an extremely talented, mobile quarterback. Guess what Jayden Daniels is? He's a relatively polished, highly talented, mobile quarterback. So I do think with this spread system, it's going to accentuate Daniels' ability to run the football, especially up the middle, and it's going to force defenses to have zone eyes on him all the time. They're not going to be able to play a lot of man coverage against this offense, which gives Cliff Kingsbury and the Commanders' offense an instant advantage. Now let me know down there in the comments section, percent chance that Jayden Daniels wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me down there in the comments section. Honestly, guys, I don't think it's necessarily that high. I think he's going to be under pressure a lot. I think he's going to show a lot of good things, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of optimism with this year. But I think that there's other players in better situations that are probably going to put up better stat lines. So, you know what? I'll give him a 10% shot to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy. In terms of my favorite, that's got to be Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears. Then we'll go to Piggy the Pug. Says Daniels is like RG3. I completely disagree. I mean, I can see why you're gonna, have those comparisons. Number 2 picks, rushing quarterbacks. One injury could potentially quote unquote derail their careers. But honestly, I think Jayden is a lot more polished as a passer than RG3 was coming out, and I think that if he were to have a similar type of injury that Robert had here in Washington, I think that he would be able to survive as a passer, whereas RG3 really relied on his athleticism, wasn't much of a pocket passer, couldn't make that adjustment. I think that Jayden does have a particular skill set with the clean throwing mechanics, with the pocket footwork, with the mental processing ability. I think that I just don't see him being the next RG3 here in Washington. Then we got one from Bob Myers here. It says, updated Commanders record prediction for 2024 now that the draft is over. Good question here, Bob. what do we say here, Coop? 6-7 wins? I'd be relatively happy with that as long as Jayden Daniels is making progress throughout his first season. And as long as this team as a whole is making progress throughout the course of a season, right? Jordan McGee starts looking pretty good at inside linebacker. Brandon Coleman starts to show some flashes on the offensive line, right? Yeah, the chemistry starts to get built between Jayden and his receivers, all these different things. I want to see this team be competitive, especially towards the end of the season. Now, I'm not expecting playoffs. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl run. If they make the playoffs, great. I mean, Dan Quinn is one hell of a coach, man. If he's able to turn things around on this offensive line, get this defense rolling, and, Jayden Daniels is a very talented quarterback. So, who knows what can happen, but I think on paper, with the trenches not looking too great for the Commanders outside of defensive tackle, I'm just not sure if they have the foundation in place to really be a success in this league, but they are on their way, in my opinion, and I do have hope for the future. So how many wins will the Washington Commanders get in 2024? Let me know down there in the comment section what you guys are feeling. Do you think they get close to that double-digit win mark? Do you think they get close to a playoff berth? Let me know down there in the comment section what you're expecting from the Commanders in 2024. All right, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I appreciate everybody that submitted questions on this week's Commanders Report mailbag. I really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you join us next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our live show so you can get your questions on next week's mailbag. All right. So, Coop, we're going to put on a 2-minute shot clock here for and we need to do the slap. All right, so Coop's going to go do it's in like that drawer over by the microwave. You know what I'm talking about, to the left? Yeah. So we're going to put a 2-minute shot clock on here. $10 super chats are Bean-Boozled. We got them right here. And then we got a $50 tortilla slap. So if you want to see me slap the Cowboys fan, we already got one slap, courtesy of IQ Barbecue. If you want to see another one, send in those 50s, and we'll get those slaps going for you guys. So DJ Pete S. is asking, when is the team name change going to happen? When will they discuss it? I'm guessing next offseason. Because this offseason was really all about, last offseason was all about acquiring the team, right? It didn't happen until right before the season started. So they couldn't really make changes then. Then this offseason, it's all about getting that new GM, the new head coach, the new quarterback, getting a foundation set in place organizationally. And I think next offseason is going to be the one where we probably hear about a stadium deal, where we hear about branding changes, we hear about potential name change. I think all of that is probably up for grabs next offseason. So Coop is getting himself prepared by slapping himself in the face with a tortilla like the clown he is. Rockman says, everyone hit that thumbs up icon. Thank you so much, Rockman, for the support there.
Not hard.
He says, not hard. Pause. Well, guess what, Coop? You're a Cowboys fan. I'm not. He's already flinching. You got to love it. Oh! I purposely missed the first one. And then I slapped you when you opened your eyes. That's what you get for being a Cowboys fan on the Commanders Report, man. You get your face slapped. Gotta love it. We got 15 seconds for any more super chats here, and then we're gonna say goodbye for the day here, folks. Appreciate the support of this community. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're here every single Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's gonna be it for the timer there, Coop. So let's get out of here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for all the support that you give to us here at the Commanders Report, and until next time, hail to the